Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. Earlier this month, the Kansas Livestock Association met in Wichita, and a couple weeks ago, we heard from Lee Reeve, the outgoing president of the organization. Today, we sit down with Barb Downey. She's a Flint Hills rancher, and she begins her year as the KLA president. We talk goals and some of the challenges for 2019. We'll also have reports from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, along with our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919, kfb.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. In agriculture news from agview.net, the U.S. Meat Export Federation has received the results of an updated study aimed at quantifying the value delivered to U.S. corn producers through the exports of red meat. The original 2016 study, as well as this last follow-up, were conducted by World Perspectives. Dave Jude, the senior analyst for World Perspectives, says the updated study was prompted because significant growth seen in U.S. beef and pork exports, which has increased 26% since the last data was collected in that original study. He notes that 11% of the price of corn this year will be derived from beef and pork exports, with red meat exports' impact on corn prices equating to about 39 cents a bushel. That's based on the annual average price of $3.53 a bushel. Now in 2018, the amount $5.7 billion to the U.S. corn sector. Well, each year, more than 5,000 Kansas farmers and agriculture workers sustain injuries or acquire a health condition that affects their ability to work. Well, thanks to a new round of federal grant funding, the Kansas Agribility Project will continue to be a resource for Kansas farmers and ranchers dealing with those disabilities and chronic illness. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's National Institute of Food and Agriculture recently awarded Kansas Agribility a new 4-year, $720,000 grant that extended their operations till at least 2022. Since receiving the first grant back in 2002, Kansas Agribility focused on directly assisting Kansas farmers, their employees, and farm family members who had become injured or have an activity-limiting health condition that is limiting them to remain actively engaged in production agriculture. They want that to happen for as long as they choose. Well, stay with us. You'll meet the new president of the Kansas Livestock Association, Barb Downey, in just a few moments. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web, oldeseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. And Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. More at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Hi, I'm Sue Schulte, and here's what's going on at Kansas Corn. For farmers, winter is meeting season. Kansas Corn is involved with several meetings and events in January and February. We have already attended the conventions of the Kansas Grain and Feed Association and the Ag Retailers and the Kansas Livestock Association convention. In early January, you can find Kansas Corn at the Topeka Farm Show, January 8th through 10th. Kansas Corn's popular corn schools begin in January. We put these on with K-State Research and Extension and hold corn schools in each area of the state. Corn schools will be held January 7th in Salina, January 9th in Oakley, and January 11th in Lawrence. Our pre-plant schools will be February 11th in Parsons, February 13th in Heston, and February 15th in Garden City. These corn schools are designed to provide corn producers with in-depth training targeted to the areas where they farm. January will wrap up with the Kansas Corn Symposium and the Kansas Corn Dinner on January 23rd, where we will recognize scholarship winners and participants in our collegiate and young grower programs. We will also present our annual Corn Vision Awards. And on January 24th, we will have the Kansas Commodity Classic, the annual convention of Kansas corn, wheat, grain, sorghum, and soybean associations. For more information on upcoming meetings and events, visit our website at kscorn.com.
Imagine having someone help you pick the best corn hybrids for every field on your farm. Your Oldie representative can combine your data with his data to offer a field-by-field prescription. Contact Oldie Seed today at 877-692-4555.
This Medford, New Jersey school bus runs on biodiesel, and so do these. In fact, all of these buses run on clean-burning biodiesel, which is great because the more we use biodiesel in our heavy-duty vehicles, the less carbon pollution in our air. Think how great it would be if more of our school buses ran on biodiesel. More biodiesel, less carbon pollution. More is less. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
We're joined now by Barb Downey, who is a rancher from Potawatomi County and is the new president of the Kansas Livestock Association. Barb, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, we just, as we're talking, wrapped up the annual meeting of the KLA Trade Show. I guess let's maybe talk about some of those things coming out of this convention.
This is the policy part of our meetings where membership directs policy is developed, and then that is the marching orders for staff as we go forward into this next year. One of the big things to come out of this was a resolution supporting a constitutional amendment. I think all of us in Kansas understand that our school finance and funding program has been fraught with complications since the 1990s. We came out with a policy supporting a constitutional amendment that clarifies, it does not change, but it clarifies that the legislature is the body charged with deciding the adequate funding of education. The Supreme Court is the body in charge of deciding what is equitable. And this policy just clarifies that, and we're hoping to move forward so we can truly talk about the heart of the education issues that we do face in this state.
So is that maybe the biggest thing that came out as far as policy-wise?
We did. That was a very big one that came out of some issues last spring. There was also a local member-driven issue that came out concerning access to the Ark River, especially out in western Kansas. That's considered a navigable river, but it is dry. If you've ever been out to western Kansas, Dodge City, Garden City, it is dry, and it becomes public recreation area, which is leading to some trespass, some destruction issues of private landowners. So that policy was brought forward within a committee meeting, then to the council level, and then in front of the general membership, and we now have policy addressing that issue. Okay.
So those, and that will be starting the process up here pretty quick to go through that. Probably also a lot of just reiteration of those long-standing KLA resolutions and policies.
Right. The other part of that business is reaffirming those. Some things need alteration and tweaking as situations change, and we conduct all of that business here.
All right. I guess we didn't really tell folks, let's step back just a bit and talk about your operation there in the Flint Hills.
My husband, Joe Carpenter, and I run a cow-calf operation. We live in Wabunsee County, also ranch in Riley County. It's a commercial cow-calf operation. Part of it is with Angus-based cows. The other part of our operation is a registered Angus seed stock business, and we raise and sell bulls and bred heifers to farmers and ranchers in the state of Kansas and nationwide.
I had to catch myself. I said Potawatomi County at the beginning, but it is Wabunsee County. But you know, you're very gracious and kind of letting it go.
Wow.
We're talking with Barb Downey, who's the president of the Kansas Livestock Association. We'll take a break and have more in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. And AgView.net, covering news and views in the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt. Reliable and relevant, AgView.net.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Again by Barb Downey, who is a Wabunsee County rancher and the new president of the Kansas Livestock Association. Barb, as you worked your way up now to this position, the membership affirmed that they want you to be the leader for the next year. We always ask the incoming president to kind of look ahead. What do you want to see happen during this year of leadership?
I think, as we look and see consolidation, our feeding sector getting more consolidated, dairy, and to some extent cow-calf operations, membership issues and membership numbers and membership dollars become ever more important, especially in a climate where we face challenges every day that most of us out there in the field don't even realize, are happening. So a strong membership base is always the foundation of any good trade organization. So that, of course, will be at the forefront. The other thing that personally interests me and I would like to see us get involved in more is maybe coordinating some meetings about transitioning operations. I think the message has been received for most farmers, ranchers, and other businesses. We do a pretty good job of tax and estate planning, but sometimes we don't do a very good job of figuring out how we're going to transition these very complex and large operations. An average farm and ranch anymore is worth millions of dollars, and well, maybe not the average, but certainly there's a lot of them out there that are. And transitioning these businesses as a viable entity to the next generation is harder than we think, and deserves a lot of thought, a lot of planning, so that we make sure that happens properly.
2018 was a pretty good year for the beef industry. Records set. Looking to 2019, we always put the onus on that president. You know, will you be one that will record it? See some, even though you have nothing to do with it. No, but kind of looking at the industry from all the different sectors, we're really in a fairly good place with everything else going on around us.
We're in a great place, and this morning we got to hear Randy Block kind of give us the look back and then the look forward. And indeed, the beef industry, because of the work of a lot of us, a lot of organizations, a lot of individuals, and a lot of businesses, is positioned very well. But we can't lose sight that there are still challenges. Trade, number one, can change everything in a heartbeat. We count on the work of our beef councils and our checkoff producer dollars to make sure that we are helping support and drive the demand for beef and back up our industry in terms of nutritional research and all of that, so that we can continue to benefit from the work that we've done in the last several years and continue forward.
Last thing, we always like to talk to volunteer ag leaders when they get in positions like this. You're going to take a lot of time off the ranch to do this. How do you think that will affect your operation, and why is it important to be involved in associations like this that are directly tied to your industry?
These organizations that we're fortunate enough to be part of are all volunteer-led organizations, and it becomes so important that everybody contribute what they can to attend these meetings, to be involved in policy discussions, to bring their concerns to the table, and then if the opportunity presents itself, and you know, I'm backed by a great family, my husband Joe Carpenter, our daughters, and they're picking up the slack as I've stepped forward into a little more of a leadership. But like any good farmer ranch, it's a team effort, and we'll get it done.
All right, Barb, good luck. Thanks again. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Barb Downey, a Wabaunsee County rancher and the new president of the Kansas Livestock Association, has joined us. We'll have more coming up.
As you are making your end-of-the-year tax plans, we ask you to consider making a tax-deductible donation of cash to the Kansas Wheat Commission Research Foundation to further wheat research efforts at the Kansas Wheat Innovation Center. Or better yet, how about donating an acre of wheat or a truckload of wheat to the Kansas Wheat Commission Research Foundation? Donations are used both to further the mission of Kansas State University's wheat breeding program and for additional wheat research projects, ensuring that Kansas farmers have access to the best possible wheat varieties and that scientists can leverage human, financial, and laboratory resources to make significant improvements to wheat genetics. The Kansas Wheat Commission Research Foundation differs from the wheat checkoff. The checkoff does fund wheat research, but is also used for marketing, promotion, and education. Donations to the Kansas Wheat Commission Research Foundation will be used only for wheat research. The end of the year is a great time to donate wheat to the Kansas Wheat Commission Research Foundation. For many cash basis farmers, significant tax savings can be achieved by donating crops grown directly to a charitable organization. Depending on the size of your gift, a number of donor recognition opportunities exist. Donors will be recognized in the Kansas Wheat Innovation Center so that you, your children, and grandchildren will see that your gift played a major role in shaping the bright future of Kansas wheat production.
My name is Jim Sipes. I'm a farmer from Stanton County and the 9th District Director on the Kansas Farm Bureau Board. And I've been working for the last 6 years on the Lesser Prairie Chicken Initiative, and that's coming an issue again. We're seeing a lot more activity. In fact, they're supposed to have a listing decision this fiscal year, which will end in September. So we'll see where that goes. We had a clear indication last week in a meeting that they're probably going to list it again, and so we're really concerned about where that's going to go. We certainly believe that it is a drought issue that's affecting the lesser prairie chicken. It is because of that drought that we see a reduction in numbers. We do not believe it's a habitat problem that the Fish and Wildlife Service believes it is. However, they do have a recent study that came out, I believe, from the U.S. Geological Survey that indicates the species will go extinct in 30 years. And that's why we're fearful that there may be another listing headed our way. And many of the folks that I work with fear that that listing will be an endangered listing. And we're certainly hoping that that's not where it goes. If we have an endangered listing, farmers and ranchers, we don't know how we will function in that environment. Under a threatened listing, we can still function and do what we do in farm and ranch, at least for most of us, unless we're in prime or critical habitat, which might be a very different issue.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Kansas Livestock Association members approved policy addressing school finance, wildfire suppression, animal traceability, and other issues during the annual business meeting at the convention in Wichita. In all, KLA members approved 62 resolutions for 2019. Members approved a new resolution supporting a Kansas constitutional amendment that would ensure state legislators have sole authority to appropriate the total amount of funds for K-12 education. It also specifies the judiciary should retain authority to review whether K-12 education funding appropriated by the state legislature is equitably distributed among school districts. In response to the state's two largest wildfires in the last 50 years, occurring in 2016 and 2017, KLA members passed another new resolution supporting increased state funding for wildfire suppression. Property rights always are on the minds of livestock producers and landowners. Members approved a new resolution urging local and state law enforcement officials to actively enforce state trespassing laws along navigable streams in Kansas. KLA members amended a resolution to support continued state and federal funding for the Cattle Trace Disease Traceability Pilot Project. Amended KLA policy strongly supports ratification of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. Other issues addressed in KLA policy include prescribed burning, fake meat regulation, noxious weed control, and deer population management.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source. agview.net.
Good morning, I'm Darren Van Vactor with Paragon Ag. The December report came and went pretty quietly, offering few changes and little impact on the markets. However, the markets have drifted higher regarding corn, beans, and wheat as of late. Let's take a look. Easing U.S.-China trade tensions has helped as the bean market has been pushing higher ever since the G20 summit in early December. The White House continues to display an optimistic outlook regarding trade talk, which has in turn bolstered the ag markets. As such, the government has delayed the announcement for the second wave of the farmers' aid payment until month's end. As for wheat, we've seen some recent export business bumping it out of the downward channel. As we work into the cold winter months, we may see debate surrounding winter kill on reduced or late planted acres. Looking for an opportunity to hedge some new crop risk on such a move would be prudent. Corn has continued to hold its own, pushing 30 cents off its early harvest lows. Demand has been good as we have dug into supplies and basis has improved post-harvest in most areas. March, the front month contract, is sitting in striking distance of the $4 mark, making it hard to argue with getting something done at these levels. There are ways to lay off future risk without making a physical commitment or retain ownership of previously sold grain. If you have questions, we'd be happy to help. Give us a call here at Paragon Ag Advisors, 888-452-8751. I'm Darren Van Vactor. Be safe and have a great week.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News. A reliable and relevant source, agview.net. Well, that's this week's show. Be social with us online, kansasagreport.net, or on Facebook and Twitter. Now, this show is also in podcast form on castbox.fm, and search Kansas Ag Report. Well, as we wrap up 2018, we're scheduled to have a conversation with Kansas Farm Bureau Rich Feltz next week. Well, this special time of the year, there's just so much going on, and we literally get wrapped up in all the festivities of holiday function. And those in farming and ranching still have those chores to do every day, from things like breaking ice to feeding all those animals. Now, it's our hope with everything going on that you do make time to give thanks for the reason for the season. That is the birth of the Christ child and the hope that came with his birth. From all of us at Kansas Ag Report, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a safe and happy 2019. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.